Well,
Yeah, we are. We are live.
oh, look at that.
Yes, yes, indeed. We are actually a go. It's not the best. We're making the most out of it. Sorry. We apologize. We're trying to just get this going. We got something together, but let's just get things out of the way. Let's introduce our guest. Zach, you've made it. You're back. Tell us. Round two, right?
So tell us about. Well, you're here to talk to us about a lot of stuff, and we all have a lot of questions. I think the biggest question for me, for actually not for me, but from me to Zach, would be the moment you realized or you found out that Clutch Kickers wasn't going to happen at Emerald Coast Dragway. What kind of went through your head? Was this something that you already had a feeling that was coming, or was it a shock?
going on behind the scenes, to kind of prep us. But ironically, we had already been working the deal with the Freedom Factory behind the scenes before this all came about, anyways. We had already intended to take the 100K series to the Freedom Factory for potentially one or two rounds, anyways, for this year. So it just kind of is what it is. But now we're going to be there for all 5 rounds.
Nice. And so we've been watching you, following you guys with the testing the different layouts. Everything seems like it went pretty well, and you're able to answer. Not want to say answer, but you're able to fulfill a lot of the requests from the drivers. Right? It was getting to the point where they're tired of running the same layout.
Yeah.
And that's one good thing about Freedom Factory is it's going to provide these different challenging layouts. So I have to say that's probably something that's going to be a welcome improvement to Clutch Kickers. And but we're really excited to see how things are coming. For the most part, though, are there any other key changes besides the track and the layouts?
Pit parking, which sounds like a really odd one, but like at Holt, it was always a nightmare to try and cram in the rigs in a safe manner and allow people space to pit. The great thing about the Freedom Factory is the pit spacing is completely separate from spectator parking and everything else. There's not even a way for spectator cars to get in the gate to the pit spacing. So like there's a lot more room to park big rigs. There's a lot more asphalt and concrete there. So people in theory won't have to pit in the grass as much. There's just a lot more room in the facility overall. Like the capacity of the Freedom Factory is almost 6 times what Holt can hold. Okay. So just having the room to be able to breathe a little bit and be able to expand and not have to worry about Friday night. God, Adam Elsie's coming in at 2 a.m. with a toter home. Like, how are we going to get him in here kind of deal? Like, I don't have that problem anymore is probably the biggest stress reliever of them all, ironically enough.
Yep. Are you guys going to be able to offer storage like you guys were able to do over in Fort Walton or Crestview area?
We haven't talked about it yet, but most likely not. Most likely all of the rigs will have to be gone Sunday night within an allotted window after the event. But we'll have more information on that closer to the event. We haven't quite figured out all that stuff with Garrett's team yet.
Okay, and for the most part, it's still the same team, right? There's still well-oiled machine like we've always expected from Clutch Kickers. Are there any new additions or changes to the team?
So there are some key behind-the-scenes changes. Me, Matt, Austin, Nick, Mr. Castleberry, Noah, still the original team, and Mike and Matt's brother Mike. We're all still 100% a go for this year. There are some of our extended staff that we hold that have basically been with us since day one that will most likely not be attending just because of the distance to the Freedom Factory and the ability and like the time they have to take off work. There will be 3 new additions to the team this year that I'm aware of. Can't 100% confirm any of them though, because I'm waiting on an email back from every single one of them, but there in theory should be 3 new additions to the team, a couple of which we actually had at year one that people might remember. So
right. Well, it's exciting. You guys have always And that's something that it just always impressed me from the very beginning, how you came out of nowhere. The story of Klutch Kickers, for us that were, everybody was in your area knew about Klutch Kickers, but for those people that are out of the area, we heard about that first $100,000 season and we're like, oh God, here goes another one, right? And here we are, season 3. You've proved everybody wrong, right? That was doubtful in the beginning, and you've gained a huge following, like leaps and bounds every year. What you guys have been able to steamroll this into is amazing, and rolling with the punches, right? You guys lost that track, and
Pretty
boom,
much.
you're at the Freedom Factory. Now you're partnering up with Cletus. And I mean, how does that feel to be able to partner with the Freedom Factory? Because that's going to add a lot to your series as well.
It's actually kind of surreal. Like this, I think this whole thing for Nick, myself, Matt, Austin. I don't think when we came up with this idea to begin with that we ever thought it would go nearly as far as it has. Let alone that we'd be working alongside people who, like, I don't want to say we idolized, because none of us are like super fanboy about people. Right. It's not really who we are, but like there's people who drive our series that are huge, not only in drifting, but on YouTube and social media and just all different levels of fame. And it's like so crazy for us that like we're on like a personalized level with some of these people.
Right.
Like to be a part of Garrett's team, somebody whose YouTube channel I've watched for, I don't know, probably 10 years.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I've known about him since like he was part of 1320 in like, I don't know, 2005 or whenever it was. So like to see how far he's coming now, working like side by side with him and his team is probably, it's a really surreal experience, but we're super excited to see where it goes, because the possibilities he's handed us with what we have done in the past 2 years with minimal is like, we're super excited about where we're going to go this year and hopefully next year.
Well, like I said, you guys rolling with the punches. I don't see you guys slowing down anytime soon. And one thing that will is kind of interesting, and I'm kind of curious, what kind of feedback have you got from the drivers? Not obviously the guys that have been testing, but and the reason why I'm asking this is because we've always known Klutch Kickers, Elmer Coast Dragway, the big equalizer, right? It's been able to equalize those cars. Now you're on an oval.
Yeah.
What kind of feedback have you been getting from the drivers?
Ironically, this is a case for us currently and last season. A lot of the feedback we receive on Facebook is not actually from the drivers. Like it's very sense. Rare that most drivers chime in. Like I don't really think for the drivers it's as relevant as people make it seem. Like they're not really there. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, people, I don't really think Holt was as great of an equalizer as everybody said it was. Like they're still doing 60 mile an hour plus on the entry. Like the guys with big money teams and big budgets, they don't win specifically because they have big budgets and big money cars. Like those guys have been driving for over 15 years. They're good no matter what. Like Alec doesn't win because he's Alec Honadale. He wins because he's an extremely skilled driver. Like,
right.
But we don't really get a lot of feedback necessarily from drivers. We get a lot of feedback from just everybody who follows us. So, right. But it's actually been better than we thought. I mean, it doesn't seem like anybody's super upset that we're doing a couple bank rounds. So,
yeah, I think the biggest concern, which I've talked to some people that I've never was able to drive Freedom Factory, at least not yet. But I think there is that mix of concrete and asphalt. How is that playing out when you guys are doing the layouts?
So when we initially designed all of the layouts, the only person who had driven there was Nick, and he'd only done maybe 8 or 9 laps there. He went to a Friday night drift night. So we were really relying on feedback from people we knew who had driven there, or Garrett's team, or like, or pretty much just any driver we knew who had been down there. And it was kind of hard. Like when we were designing layouts, we didn't know, we designed a lot of stuff that like we thought would work, but ended up not even being close to working. And like the concrete does play a massive factor in what you can do at the Freedom Factory. The grip difference is probably 50% less in the bank, if not more. So like you can't do tight turns on the concrete, because a lot of the layouts we had initially designed, they were like hairpins or like multi-turn layouts on the concrete. You can't do them. There's just not enough room. Like the cars, it's like it takes the car half a second longer to do anything that you could do with more grip. So like when you transition, the car, it rotates slower. Like when you get on throttle, it takes a little bit longer for the car to pick up speed. So like doing hairpins, we noticed that people at the test day would always plow through the cones, or like where we would create a rear zone, they'd have to go through it with their front bumper to make it work. So a lot of the layouts got thrown out like almost immediately.
Well, that's going to make it interesting, though. That's gonna make a challenging section for the course for those guys that are used to having that grip that they had at Emerald Coast Dragway. That was one of the things about Emerald Coast is everybody did, the grip was phenomenal, right? So it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out in some battles that we have coming up. So, are there any well, I kind of know this question, but maybe you can elaborate on rulebook changes this year.
Biggest rulebook changes for this year are the roll cage rule. It's 100% mandatory to have a roll cage, and it wasn't originally a venue request. Originally, I had planned on going into 2022 with a roll cage rule, even if we were going to stay at Holt, strictly just because of the safety. Like the cars are getting faster, the drivers are getting more comfortable. Like it was getting to the point where we had some really hairy battles, and like Alec and Taylor Hull and some of these dudes that are just like, they're right there the whole run. So we were getting real nervous about somebody possibly getting hit and causing like a serious accident anyways. So we were planning on doing it regardless. It was actually a funny miscommunication between my team and Cletus's team, or our team and Cletus's team. I thought it was a Freedom Factory mandatory rule to have tandems or cages for tandems, because that's what they do at Friday Night Drift Night. I guess that wasn't the case, but I thought it was anyway. So it was going to happen regardless. But
right, yeah, I mean, it's safety, right? Yeah, it's safety. So that's definitely, I think. I'm sure you got a little flack, especially in the beginning, the cage versus no cage kind of tandem
not
battles.
Really.
No,
not really. Only because the thing is, like, the 100K series is getting to a point where it's debatably growing into one of the largest series in the United States, if not the world currently. Mm-hmm. And it needs, like, we as a team need to start treating it more like it's, I don't want to say a professional level series, but it's not also like we have to pay attention to the finer details now. Like the series is growing, like the drivers are growing, the cars are getting crazier, the budgets are getting bigger. Like we need to pay attention to the finer details that we've kind of let slide to try and let the series grow and kind of tighten things up a bit just to make it safer as a whole and give it like a better show and a better spectator feel. So
yeah, I mean, people are building cars exclusively for your event, right? So
yeah, I've heard of quite a few.
yeah. So people are tailoring their cars and just building them to run Klutch Kickers. But you touched on something that is something that has impressed me with the worldwide attention that you guys are getting. Are you have anybody pulling you to do a Klutch Kickers like Australia or Klutch Kickers Europe or anything like that? I mean, you never know, right?
Not yet. And the thing with stuff like that is I don't know if we'll ever get there anyways. Like even in the Formula Drift level, like they do Formula Drift Japan and like they tried Canada and a couple other things, but like it just seems logistically almost impossible to throw an event overseas. But I know Europe with like the whole Drift Masters thing and like the Drift Games guys, like they're having a hard enough time right now getting their own events off the ground with all the crazy stuff going in Europe. So we've never gotten a request for it yet. And even if we did, I don't think it's something we'd ever consider at this stage. Like that seems like a lot.
Yeah, but I'm just kind of, because it is building a huge following. When we watch it and we had drivers come from Mozambique, Africa, right? We had drivers come from Brazil and all over the world. You've had drivers come. I think
we've got driver pool from like 14 countries or something. We have two people that pre-registered for the season tonight that are from Vancouver, Canada.
Oh wow!
Does one of them work at that hat that you're wearing?
So yeah, okay. So plus Josiah. I forgot about Josiah. So technically, with Josiah, there's actually like three.
Oh okay.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
You guys have any questions? Because I'll keep going.
You took all the questions.
No, I'll keep going. I don't want to like hog the mic. If you guys have a question,
actually, I have a question in regards to the rule book, and I think this is based on what I witnessed on the Pro-Am series. So, Zach, if you indulge me, let's say, for instance, somebody's out on the track in a competition, and somebody's roof decides to detach and fly off. Is that in the rule book as to whether they're going to be disqualified or not?
Yep, it is. So I have a rule in the rule book, and this doesn't apply to front and rear bumpers generally because they kind of flap no matter what, but you can't have any body panel open or detach in battles or in qualifying without contact. So roof, doors, hoods, trunks, whatever. Unfortunately, like I think it was season 1, round 4, we had to disqualify Adam LZ, who had the highest qualifying run score we had ever done. We had to disqualify that run because his trunk came open.
Yeah,
so, like,
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was sad.
That was a sad moment.
Yeah.
But you stuck to the rules. You guys don't play favorites, and it's always shown
Nope.
in the judging and everything. Despite what you read in the comments when we freaking live stream, all the nonsense that people post up, you guys have been more than fair and unbiased as
It
possible.
is what it is. It's part of the game. Like if people aren't doing that stuff, you're not doing something right anyways. So
Yeah, apparently it's
agree.
good for your algorithm to have people dislike it. So
yeah, man, y'all have at it. Like y'all boosted us by 650% last year. So have at it.
So any other key changes? So the roll cage is going to be a change as far as tech. What about as far as judging? Are there any other changes that people probably should start thinking about?
Well, what about protests? Is it the same amount, or is there
It's $250 this year, just like it was last year?
And then are you going to be the liaison for that again this year?
TBD. It's going to work a little different this year because the judges are essentially going to be on the other side of the racetrack with the announcers in a tower, like behind the grandstands. So I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to be, or I still have to figure that part out because we haven't locked down yet where like spotters can go, and generally it's the spotters who will protest for the drivers. So like this might be a case where we just have somebody stationed over there and it's like their job to deal with protests. We'll see. I'm kind of hoping to get more to the FD level where people stop protesting for stupid reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Like this
Raise
is
the
no
price.
longer, well, that, and it's no longer like I matched FDs is 250. Well, depending on the round, there's changes like from 16 to 8 to 4, but whatever. But this is no longer Emerald Coast Dragway where the drivers are so dialed that like they could protest whatever, and arguably it's justifiable because like the battle was so close.
Mhm.
This is a whole new track for everybody. There's a good chance most battles are going to end with somebody just making a massive mistake. It's
Yeah.
less likely that the battles are going to be so crazy good that like that's going to happen. So, and the rule book is a lot more defined this year. The judging criteria I went through and completely revamped. It's a lot more defined this year. I don't think there's any gray areas. We've had 7 other people go through it. So like a lot of the protests come from gray area rule book things we just hadn't thought about yet. So we've kind of eliminated most of that.
Okay. Now, for those people that are going to be watching this that have never been to Freedom Factory, how is that oval? Only thing I compare it to is, I mean, I've been to OSW. I don't know how many different ovals you've driven. Like how do you know what the degree of the bank is? What can people expect at the Freedom Factory?
So the Freedom Factory has a 12-degree bank. Compared to OSW, it's pretty mellow. Like the bank is a little bit rougher on tires than Emerald Coast Dragway, but the infield is like, I mean, a 700 horsepower car could probably drive 30 laps on the concrete with like one set of tires. It's crazy, but the bank, I expect people to go through tires pretty quickly. I mean, the bank is pretty rough comparatively. Like the asphalt's is obviously not new compared to Emerald Coast Dragway, and the like the patches that Garrett has put into the oval are in sections that we're not actually driving on. So it's like you don't even get smooth asphalt. It's just all the older stuff.
Right.
But it is very grippy.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's not an aggressive bank. Like it's only like I'm pretty sure it's 12 degrees, which
Okay.
is not in terms of banks very steep.
No.
Like, and it's not really like a super long bank. Like compared to OSWs, like the bank length might be the same, but we only use 50% of the upper part of the bank for 2 of the layouts. Like, so expect to get thrown a massive curveball when you come off the bank into the infield, because the guys who decide to throw a lot of grip in their car for the bank are going to bite themselves when they come off that bank.
Yeah. How's that wall? Is that wall smooth, or is it like a jigsaw blade, or not jigsaw, but sawzall blade? You know,
The asphalt or the concrete?
the wall, the actual wall. You know, people like to ride that
it's-
wall. Can they ride that wall all the way through like OSW?
You got a lot of skill. I mean, the wall's not like, it's not like crazy jagged or anything, but I'm not going to recommend somebody try to rub their taillights through it.
Okay, got it. Makes sense.
Well,
Yeah, because you have to come off of it so early that if like to get set up on a wall like that and not be able to just like lock the car into a groove for more than like 30 or 40% of the bank, like by the time you got the car comfortable, you're coming out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So like if you did that, you're gonna have a hard time diving down the bank and scrubbing all that speed. So we'll see. The test day, like most of the guys were getting pretty high up on the bank, but they were also having to slow down pretty early coming off. So we'll see. Round one should be definitely interesting.
Talking about degrees, Zach,
Jeez.
are there any turns on the layouts that feature 180-degree turns? Just curious.
Oh God.
Oh no.
Pretty close. I think it's the round one layout. The final turn is basically like a 180-degree turn.
Final turn. Okay.
There were 2 layouts we tested that came off the bank into 180-degree turns. The problem is it needs like another 20 feet of asphalt to make it viable. So,
Right.
but I wouldn't say there's anything that's like a perfect 180.
Right.
Well, thank you,
We were
Zach,
right.
because we had a debate on our show not too long ago.
Oh, I
around,
know. I saw it.
Yeah. I apologize for our stupidity, but we get on these tangents.
Just-
That's how we usually talk to each other. Just so you know, that's what a
Yeah.
normal day with the 4 of us is like.
You should see what our trips are like as we're going up to. Well, when we were going up to Emerald Coast, I mean, it was just like that the whole way.
Yeah.
through.
I'm interested on how round 4 layout's gonna do. That one looks interesting.
Is that my crazy crossover layout?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I designed that one. I love that layout. I don't
Did
like
you guys try
crossover
it?
layouts in general. Oh yeah, I tried it.
No, they just designed it. They didn't try anything.
So we
I'm
tried.
saying.
So basically what had happened with like the whole test day thing, since we're there, is I designed, I don't know, like 7 to 10 layouts myself. Nick designed like 3 or 4. Then Matt, Austin, and I had lunch and designed like 7 or 8 more. So I think we had like 17 or something like that total.
Mhm.
And then we basically refined that down into 14 that we thought might be viable. And that's what got posted out online.
Gotcha.
Got to the Freedom Factory, had a mini drivers meeting with everybody. We threw out 6 of them instantly in the drivers meeting.
Oh,
And
wow.
then we basically tested the final 8 for 2 days and then like refined them, made them wider, changed zones, changed clips, whatever we needed to do. And we got that down to 7 by the time we left on Tuesday. And then what everybody out in the public has seen is rounds 1 through 4. And then the remaining 3 layouts we drop later in the year as votes for the wild card round.
Yeah. So who are the drivers out there testing with you?
Adam LZ, Taylor Ray, Ben Julian, Sean Booth, Hayden Kittrell, Cabot Cardoso, Lee.
Yeah, Cabot kind of wrecked his
Yearwood.
car there, didn't he?
I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, that was like the very last. Like we tested all the layouts. We had like 20 minutes left before we were going to shut the track down, and we basically just like let the drivers go haywire, go do whatever they want.
Oh God.
And Cabot's power steering pump like broke right as he initiated into the bank, and that
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah,
all
yeah, I
she
saw it.
wrote. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it.
Did the car toast?
No,
Nah,
it's fine.
so all props. I mean, yeah, like it's shout out thing. I'm sponsored by FDF Fab and I love their products, but like shout out to those dudes because not a single arm on Cabot's front right wheel broke.
Really?
It all folded up, but none of it broke. Like we drug the car
Oh, wow.
backwards off the track. Like all props to Josiah because if that stuff didn't like fold like it did, it probably would have smashed his strut power clean into his engine. So
Wow.
Well, good deal. So I know that I've seen people talking about it and just like here and there talking about tire rules. Are there any plans for any tire rules?
I hope not. Please no.
no, that shit's stupid.
Yeah, thank God.
No, I agree.
Thank you.
But I've
Thank
seen
you.
it. I've seen people
No,
comment.
tire rules are
it's a
stupid.
tire rule. And-
All right, I'm not against tire rules, but I do believe the only true, fair, effective way to do a tire rule is how FD does it, where it's weight and power based,
I
or
agree.
like weight and tire size based. I don't have the staffing or the equipment to try and deal with that. Like,
No.
I don't think it's fair to put everybody on a 255 tire and go to town. Like,
Right.
car weight and all kinds of other factors play into it, and like tire deals and tire sponsors, and like we're not like FD where I have 4 companies or 3 companies that are like
Right.
that sponsor all the drivers and work out deals. Like if you think you're going to show up with a 315 and like beat everybody, I mean, good luck. It never works. Like people tried it all year at season, or basically all 5 rounds at season 1, and those guys never made out of the top 64. So
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Well, I mean, even Adam Elzia, when he was driving his pro car, he said it just wasn't fun on that track with that car on that track.
No,
He
you just
didn't
can't. Yeah, you just can't use that level of grip. Like it's not FD. Like the tracks aren't big enough to stretch it out. And even if you
Right.
use it on the bank, the
Mhm.
minute you come off the bank, you're like, what are you gonna do behind a 350Z with nitrous with like that much grip?
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
what are you gonna
Exactly.
do? There's
Yeah.
no amount of foot brake in the world that slows a car down that much. Like,
Yeah.
Parachutes.
Shooting. Yeah.
So any
pretty much.
Go ahead.
Pretty much the fastest cars in the series right now are all running a 255 to a 275. There's a couple guys that run a 285, but like the actual fastest lap timed cars at Emerald Coast Dragway were on 265. So
Right.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's set up. A lot of suspension and mechanical grip really comes into play.
I think it also becomes like the people who build their car around the tire, they take advantage of, of that. And then I think that's what's really, going to allow them to really progress a lot more. But I mean, having the biggest tire on a tight track is definitely not. If the car becomes a handful, and we saw that, like you said, like you mentioned with Adam LZ, like, yeah, he made it to top 4, I believe it was that one round,
they
something
made
like
it top
that.
4 in the
Yeah,
S15.
but the whole day it looked like he was really
Right.
wrestling the car.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
he
you're
fought it
saying
basically until top 8, like
right.
And then
So
like
Noel's
top 8 was
basically
all of a
saying
sudden like whole new car.
Noel's basically saying bigger's not always better.
No,
right?
no,
No.
definitely not.
And
Definitely.
size and compound go hand
Size.
in hand. Like you can have a 315 that's a bad compound and not be fast.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
So like,
Yeah.
I
we
think
got
60% of the series is on the same tire. So
Right.
We got a question in the chat from Chris who writes, "Can you announce who the judges will be this season?"
I can't announce all 3 of them. I could probably let 2 of them out of the bag. The third one I'm still working on.
Okay. Well, so to be announced.
Yeah, I mean Will is like 100% coming back. I will for always
Yeah.
bring. Like, I will bring Will back.
Yay, all
as long
right,
as I
Will.
possibly can. Dwayne is pretty intent on coming back, although we haven't
Nice.
officially locked that in. The third judge is still up for debate. Dan and I are still talking. It's just Dan's got a really busy schedule.
Yeah.
And he does like stunt driving and everything else. So we're still waiting to make sure that the dates don't conflict and whatever else with Dan. I've talked to a few other people too that I'm not going to mention in the event that Dan can't come back, but Will and Dwayne are 100% coming back.
Yeah. Dan's been. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Is he gonna drive his Corolla down? Like his little Corolla drive all the way
well,
down.
We gotta ask him.
Yeah.
He's
We
jumping
gotta
on,
find out.
him and Dwayne are jumping on planes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dan, Officer Dan, he has really been getting busy.
Yeah.
Like with all these different projects, like from the beginning of the second season to now,
Yeah.
what I've seen on his on his posts and everything,
Yeah.
he's blown up. I mean, it's doing good. He's definitely making some moves, and it looks like he's having a good time at it too. So congratulations,
Yeah,
hats
he's a
off to Dan.
super busy guy. So like, it's hard, I think, for him. And he's got a new baby on the way, and like
Right.
he's just involved in so many things and like so many dates. So like, it takes some time to make sure the dates are going to work out and make sure everything's going to work out on both ends. But even if he doesn't come back as a judge, he reached out about possibly coming down and being on the microphone for a couple events too. So like, I'm sure at some point we'll see Dan back this year, even if he's not a judge. I just don't know when or how yet.
Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, Dan on the microphone, he's going to put us out of a job for sure. I mean, he's an entertaining man,
Yeah,
I'll
he
tell you
is.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope he brings down the shorts too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, shorts.
The shorts, the infamous shorts conversation.
Mhm.
Question: Is the
Go.
island going to be open for the after party?
I wish. I'm really gonna miss doing stuff at the island. That hotel was extremely great to us, especially knowing that like after every after party, that place just got trashed with drifters and like doing stupid stuff in the pool and jumping off roofs and whatever. They put up with us for 2 years. It sucks that we're not gonna have them back this year. Don't know where the after party is going to be yet, but there's a really rowdy Texas Roadhouse like right across the street from the hotel. So like maybe, I don't know, we're going to have to come up with something because the after party was like some of the best times I think anybody's had at like our events. The after parties were good. So
That'd be. I can see like bar fights and everything, breaking out. I'm gonna bring my spurs and my cowboy hat.
There's got to be something over there.
Yeah, there's
Dude, I don't know. Bradenton is like surprisingly, I don't want to say upscale, but like I was pleasantly shocked when I got there. Like, it's like that sounds like a little too nice for, I don't know, 180 something drivers and
For
crew
us.
and
He was gonna
whatever.
say for
Yeah.
us. Oh, there goes the neighborhood. So it is. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I got some questions from the chat. One of them is from a gentleman by the name of Dirty E30 Drifting.
Cabot.
Sounds like a cool guy.
Yeah, that's kind
Is the rental up for rent yet, Zach?
Oh,
Ooh.
Well, I guess he's gonna let my cat out of the bag. So,
yeah, way to blow your spot.
so that video is actually coming out next week. The Corvette rental deal is not currently live, but I am building a C6 Corvette, basically Pro 1 level car for rent for the 100K series or any other events for next year. Most of that information will come out next week or in the next 2 weeks. I'll start taking applications in February. But if you try and do like join the 100K series and don't want to bring your own car and jump into something that's 100% a top 3 car, you should definitely send me an email.
There you go.
Okay.
Waiting list. There's gonna be a waiting list. I can already see it.
Yes.
It's already actually pre-rented for like 2 rounds. So the thing is, like, some people knew I was doing it, right? Like, there's some drivers from the series last year that I talked about with it before I decided to do it to kind of gauge like interest. And then I have a friend who's also currently building a C6 as his new competition. Well, I have a couple friends that are doing it, that are building C6 competition cars currently, and they want to basically use mine for a few rounds of Klutch Kickers, so they don't have to run theirs because they're going to run it in other series as well.
Okay.
So it is already rented for a couple rounds, but if somebody wanted to do a five season thing, like, or a 5 round thing, I might be able to work something out.
Will the rental come with a pair of New Balance shoes?
New Balance shoes.
Sure. So the funny thing is, there's not actually anything GM left on my Corvette except for the frame, like nothing.
Oh wow.
It's full roll cage tube rear. It's got a high compression 418 with nitrous. Gonna make like 850 horsepower. It's got full FDF fab front and rear. It's got Fortunato coilovers on it. Like,
Oh wow. So this is.
it's a mean machine. Yeah. Like, I basically took Dirk's car because I love Dirk's car, and I took
Dirk's
Matt
car's
Field's
great,
car, and I wanted something more wild than Dirk's car as far as like build type, because Dirk's car is still streetable. Like,
simple,
it has a street, it has a street car vibe to it.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to go, $8,000 carbon Kevlar body kit like Matt Field. So I took the two and I merged them, and
Oh wow.
it's where we'll be.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, because when we interviewed Dirk, we were surprised how simple his car is. Really,
It's stock rear arm, like it's
Yeah, he's on stock bushings. It's like
yeah, dude. It's got a big cubic inch Lingenfelter engine and a custom front angle kit, some Fortunato coilovers on it, and like he just
Yeah.
rolls.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fast. Yeah,
yeah,
At
it
least
was
on
crazy
that
when we were
roller coaster.
talking to him. We were thought, oh, there's so much more in this car. And it was like, no, not really.
Yeah,
It's the stickers. It's the stickers.
That's
Definitely.
why but that's why I'm doing a Corvette, right? Like Dirk's car is super simple. It shows you the amount of mechanical grip that is in a Corvette chassis out of the box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
We got another question from Chris Jackson. Actually,
My
world famous
man.
Chris Jackson,
Yep.
asking, is Cletus going to compete?
Ooh.
Yep, Cletus will be competing, confirmed 4 out of the 5 rounds. Round 3, he won't actually be able to attend because we had to shift the date due to a conflict with another event that some of the staff works. But he will be at, I think, Rocky Mountain Race Week for round 3, but rounds 1, 2, 4, and 5, he will be there competing.
Will he be in the Crown Vic?
Nah, he's gonna bring Donnie. I'm pretty sure he's bringing Donnie. Like, and he's getting, for a dude who's relatively new to drifting, he's gotten really good. So I'm curious to see how well he
Well,
does.
he
Like,
does
I think
have
he's
a
gonna
track
really
to-
shake things up.
He does have a track
does
to
have a
practice at. That helps.
He
a
does
little
have
bit.
a track, but he doesn't have a track where he can tandem with people on the regular. Like when him and
Right.
Taylor Ray at the test day, like one warm up lap, and they were like on it door to door. And I'm like,
Wow.
it's pretty impressive for a dude who's been drifting like technically, I think less than a year.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and that car is Donnie's really coming together as well. I mean, we've been
Yeah.
like following the evolution of that car, and it's totally different from what it was last year. So I would like to see it compete out there.
It's ridiculous. It's FDF fab front too. I think it's a Texas Speed 427 that he revs to like the moon and back.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it just went dog box in the past couple months. So like, it's a very serious comp car at this point. Like,
Yeah.
very competitive car.
Yeah. So registration open, right?
Yep, registration open at
Yep.
7 p.m. Central Time. It's over half sold out already. I'm assuming it's probably going to sell out within the next couple of days. So if you haven't registered and you want to do the season and you want to be in a championship chase, you should probably get on that one.
Yeah. Any new faces on that championship race list, or did you post up the roster yet?
We haven't posted the roster up yet. I'm sure it'll start. Matt and Austin will probably put it up in a few days. There is, I can tell you how many new people there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm curious to see some new faces out there for
Yeah.
that championship.
7 names I don't recognize.
Oh wow,
That's
quite a
good.
bit already.
That's
Okay.
good.
All right.
And there's some very heavy hitters that have already registered that are returning from last year.
Mm.
Good.
Hopefully, the
Dirk
champ
is
gonna.
among them.
Oh yeah,
Dirk is
yeah.
one.
Dirk is
Dirk
one.
is among them.
Yeah.
What about Alec? Is Alec gonna do it?
So I actually messaged Alec like 30 minutes after registration went live because he's like the biggest procrastinator in the world when it comes to like register. Like LS Fest, he registered the day we were leaving for the event.
Oh gosh.
Like I'm pretty sure they were already on the road, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I didn't register yet." Like,
Right.
so I texted him the link, and I was like, "Yo, they're selling like hotcakes. Like, you need to get on this because if our season 2 points champion isn't in the points race for 2022,
Right.
people are going to be like, the heck." Like,
Right. Wow. That would be something.
Yeah, and I also saw a thing that he's getting another car ready. It's not going to be the S14, so
Correct. He's currently building a 350Z. It is LS and nitrous power, just like my Corvette. They're actually very similar engine builds. They're both 418s. And that's about all I'm going to say about his new build. But like, it is substantially more simple than the S14. I mean, good for him. Like, I know he's pretty adamant about making it a much more simple car, a cheaper car to run,
Right.
making it a little bit more fair. I think he's just trying to prove to everybody that like him winning was not because of the car.
Right.
So like,
I don't think.
No, but he gets a lot of flack. Oh, it's because he's a pro
that's 'cause
car.
Those the same idiots that say everything else stupid. I mean, it's not
exactly. But
Yeah.
Oh god, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's kind of in the same boat I am with the Z, where like it's coming up on round 1. Like, yeah, round 1 is still technically 3 months away, but in terms of building a car, that's not a lot of time.
Nope.
And he and I are both waiting on parts that we have no estimated delivery time on.
Mhm.
So they are going to get the S14 ready for round 1, just in case the Z for some reason gets held up by something out of their control. But the shop that he's got building at Full Lock, I have watched them pull off miracle after miracle after miracle with building people's pro cars. Like they built Ben Hobson's car, like start to finish in, I don't know, like 2 months or something. So like, it wouldn't surprise me if they pop this 350Z out and it's, you know, one of the craziest cars you've ever seen built in the Panhandle, but
Right.
it's going to be cool.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested. Do you have any new partners, new sponsors that have hopped on board the Klutch Kickers train?
For 2022, we are talking to a bunch of new ones. We haven't locked in deals with anybody new yet. We're still in discussions with a lot of people. The sponsorship thing that's weird has been a little, or not, the sponsorship thing this year has been a little different because we're going to the Freedom Factory. So we have to kind of keep in mind like Garrett and his team and his sponsors, and just kind of figure out like how everything's going to mesh together with the Freedom Factory and having essentially 2 teams because we have our team and Garrett's team. So I think for the most part this year, you're going to see us bring back the majority of people from last year. But I think if anybody new, the new people we're talking to already deal with the Freedom Factory. So
Right. Okay. All right.
Well, we had a question in the chat. I don't know if you want to answer. Wondering, is Mike Pollard going to be attending the season?
Interesting.
I don't know. You have to ask him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
There's an answer right there.
Yeah, that's an answer. I mean,
I
that's
would assume he would. Him and David, David and I talk probably every couple of weeks. I mean, granted, Mike and I probably talk every couple of weeks too, but they've been very active, or well, David has, in tagging Mike in a lot of our posts. I think Mike is going back to Prospect this year, if I'm not mistaken. So he's already going to be on the East Coast with the car for the majority of the events. I don't know why he wouldn't run it, but you'd have to ask him. I'd love to see him come back. He's one of my absolute favorite drivers from, well, not just the 100K, not just our 100K series, but I've loved the way Mike drives for years, but for him to be able to come to a bigger track, really stretch that car out and throw his flair on a much bigger track. I really hope he comes back.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's definitely fun to see Mike drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've been thinking him on a tight track for the last couple of years. I imagine, like you mentioned, a bigger track. I mean,
What
he's
about Brandon McDowell? I want to see what he can
He-
do on this
Oh,
track.
yeah.
He's already registered.
Oh, he is. Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay, great.
Sweet.
He was
His
one of the
entries
first
were
like
the
6
best.
people.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
So
it makes
anything
sense. And Juku's right around the corner. ISR is basically right around the
Yeah.
corner. You know,
Yeah.
the whole Juku deal. So like for them, I mean, it's basically just prep the car and go. Like the travel expenses are a lot more minimal. So, and it's in their backyards. Like advertising and stuff for them would be great. So,
Yeah. So can we expect any new Klutch Kicker merchandise or Klutch Kicker that you guys are doing the brand? You got the steering wheel. Anything going to be different for this season or new?
I know Matt works on new designs constantly. We have talked about this year about doing, I don't want to say a more premium line, but a more premium line with like the tornado shirt we did. We're talking about getting like somebody that does that level of graphic design, kind of like how Nate and them do, and putting them basically on a retainer to do some more like wild shirts for us. Like the tornado shirt and stuff was really cool, and then keeping maybe some new designs of our current type of apparel for like the track and stuff, but nothing is solidified for 2022 yet.
That's going to be interesting too, though, because we've had this reputation at Emerald Coast for these crazy, unpredictable weather events, right? I mean, it's fun as it is, like after the fact, and how we laugh about it, and like to make shirts about it, and it just it's this crazy thing. I'm kind of hoping that I don't know what the weather is, but I'm assuming on the West Coast there, hopefully we won't have to deal with that.
It's the same Gulf Coast.
Yeah, it doesn't matter though. But Florida, you can be 3 hours away, and it could be sunny all day, and it could be a hurricane over there, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm kind of glad we're getting out of that. I hope that stuff doesn't come back. That cost me a truck last year. Like,
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm about over the hurricanes and tornado like rounds and
I'm
spending
done with
hours in the tractor pushing water. Like, it'll be kind of nice to get away from that for a while.
Yeah. Well, that being said, how have you ever been to a freaking factory when it rains?
I have not, but the skid pad, like, so I did talk to Garrett and his team about it when we were down there, and then I have seen some of their videos and stuff, like where it's raining at the track and stuff. The skid pad dries out really fast, which is really nice. And they have a lot of drains.
Okay.
And water stuff that they put in before they poured the skid pad, like we redid the Freedom Factory. So even if it was to rain, I think it'll be infinitely more manageable than it was at Emerald Coast Dragway. At Emerald Coast Dragway, if it did more than sprinkle, I was having to like push water in between car runs just to keep the track going. And at that point, it wasn't even good. It was just, we could get through the show,
Right.
So
and the biggest puddles were always at the entry. So everything.
Well, that was the lowest spot, so everything
Right.
went towards the entry.
Well, yeah, you could see a river of water just going right
Yeah.
to it. Like it was just
Yeah,
insane.
it's hilarious.
yeah.
20 feet, right?
So that should be a lot better this year, hopefully, ideally.
Right.
Something that I just occurred to me. All right, so we all know in drifting, we all have dirt drops are a thing. All right, and we all know Garrett's policy about the grass. Have you guys worked something out with that?
I mean, he hasn't really said anything about it. I think it's just an understood thing that with like drifting, there's gonna be damages.
Mhm.
I think that's just been factored into all of our budgets, and I don't know. We'll see what happens after round one. Like we didn't damage the grass at all at the test day. So, and he is looking at putting some curbing in on like some of the turns that are more likely to get hit. So I don't think it'll be a problem going into the season. I mean, with the elevation of the Freedom Factory and what we're trying to elevate the series and the events too, I think the drivers will kind of keep themselves in check. Like I don't know how better way to explain this. I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's still going to be just one class, right? It's not like, because now you have to have cages, or you're not going to run like uncaged and cage class, right?
No, it'll be one class. Like I know a lot of people have inquired with us about doing a street style series. We would love to do something street style. Like we talked about it for months. I had dates locked in at Holt to do one. Like Matt did all the graphics. I wrote a rule book for it. Like we were all ready to drop a second series this year and do a street legal series. Unfortunately, we just don't think doing it out of the Freedom Factory is a viable option for us at this point. So you might see it in the future if Emerald Coast Dragway comes back. We would love to launch a street style series or street league series out of there. I think that's a great track to do it at. But for now, we're sticking with the one class.
So that being said, so Emerald Coast Dragway, there's you guys are still going to be running like events there?
Don't know. So depending on what happens with the new owner, we don't want to give the track up. Like obviously we put a lot of time into it, we put a lot of effort into it. Like it's a core part of our not just drift community, but our local community as well. Like there is no more drifting in the Panhandle after Emerald Coast Dragway closed. Like when we opened up Emerald Coast Dragway, the other local drift track kind of, it's like to no fault of their own, started to kind of wither. And the owner of that track is, I mean, he's a big like oval track guy. So for them, like drifting is not the priority. So like with us kind of taking over, they kind of didn't really drift away, but the guy who was running their drift events no longer wanted to do it either. So we were kind of the only player in the game last year. And then now our track has gone away. So we've got to a point where there's basically nothing for 4.5 hours is our closest drift track now. So hopefully somebody buys it and hits us up and lets us throw a few fun days or like do something there. Ideally, we would like to throw events there this year if it's applicable.
Yeah, we know that feeling. I mean, we're fortunate that, well, PBIR, we still don't know what's going on with that. There's that rumor that it's going to close down, but it hasn't. So I know Jackson's trying to get 1 or 2 events in there before.
Sebring is amazing.
Sebring's a great track. Yeah. If you ever get a chance to come down to Sebring, it really is a really
I keep hearing
fun.
that. Gabby wanted me to come down to the last one.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
If you can, it's actually not too much. It's not too much further than going to Freedom Factory. It's just more in the center of the state. Yeah. But it's 2 nice tracks. You're in third gear, mid third gear for both of them. Yeah. And it's just a good time. They're way far apart. The pit is massive, and you get a lot of seat time. We have a good time there.
It was a good time.
Yeah. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be exciting to run the we're gonna be a part of the Prime, the series and stuff there. At least helping out Chris, because I've known Chris forever, because he's been building my car forever. So we'll see how that works out.
All right, I said something to Chris about it the other day. I hopefully, I don't think I'm able to run the whole series. I can't afford to put that much wear and tear on the Corvette with it being a rental car, but I'm ideally looking to leave it at the Freedom Factory after one of the rounds and drive at least 1 or 2 of the Pro-Am rounds this year. So,
well, if you're gonna make one, go to Sebring. I think that's gonna be the best bet. Yeah, at least most fun.
I have to do that. I've got to ship the car up to Englishtown because Reese swears up and down he's gonna kill me if I don't bring a car up to the Gambler this year. Like that car has a long list of events it's going to this year. It's going to Vegas for LS Fest West. It'll be in Kentucky for LS Fest East.
Oh
wow!
I plan on doing a lot of traveling this year.
Oh, well.
Have you thought about adding jumps, just like LZ did at his invitational?
Yeah, they broke a lot of cars with that jump. I don't know if you saw, but
so
a lot of cars got broke.
Yeah, I watched the LZ Invitational thing. Obviously, I have several friends that work for Adam. The jump drift thing, super sick idea. Like, I loved it for like the content and just like, I mean, it's just cool. Like once they had it figured out and they were doing like videos of the compound and like Sean's just like launching his S15 off the jump and like it looked fluid and everything. Super sick at that point. When they brought us the LZ Invitational, I think they realized how they didn't make it nearly wide enough to do like tandem jumps, because it looked really difficult to do multi cars off it at the same time. But I love the idea. I think what they did with it for like drifting and just like the whole marketing aspect behind it was genius with like the Invitational. So I haven't thought about it. Probably not ever going to do it, but I hope they keep doing it because it looks super cool when they did it.
Yeah.
Well, Adam's from that whole BMX, stunt riding stuff kind of. So that's kind of up his alley anyways, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
plus they just have a wild team. Like they've got a super creative team. And between them and Drift HQ, like the possibilities that they can come up with and they're probably going to come up with in the future are endless. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're always looking for the next thing.
Yeah, for all we know, they might decide to show up at a Freedom Factory with a jump. It's like, oh, let's test it out over here.
Yeah, you never know.
I mean, if they want to bring it out, I'd love to do like a 32-16 break halftime show, and we'll send some cars off that thing. Like, I'm not going to argue if they want to somehow get it from the compound of the Freedom Factory.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe use it for battles that are too close to call.
Ah,
and then just send it out. See what happens. See who survives.
Yeah, there you go. Be the tiebreaker.
Funny.
Your thoughts? Maybe. Will it pass muster with the technical director?
Depends on who the battle was. I mean, there's some guys I'm not sure if I'm like I want to see them try and go off the jump in tandem. Like,
Right.
I got one. Be with Nick and Mike Pollard.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that'd be interesting. Watch them jump over it.
Well, Brandon Whitnick built that whole new car for
Driftway.
no, he built
Yeah,
it
well, he built
it
a
for
whole new
Klutch
car.
Kickers.
Oh,
He built it
okay,
for
yeah,
Emerald Coast Dragway.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, his goal with that car was to win more money with the car than he spent building the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Don't know if that's doable now that we've moved
Yeah.
7.5 hours further from him.
right. He's capable.
But,
He's
I
a
mean,
capable driver.
Brandon is basically like proof that you don't need a high budget car or like a crazy build to do really well in the series. You just need a decent car and a really skilled driver. I mean, he was in the top 16 countless times. Like I think he podiumed a couple rounds or something.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the dude's insanely skilled for a car that's like, I mean, it's
That-
Brandon Whitnick. He's known for like hacking stuff together and just making it work. And
I don't know. I saw that thing was running a Super AFC. Like his car, his car at the Klutch Kickers.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
yeah, he uses it to switch between pump gas and ethanol. I'm pretty sure.
Oh wow. Oh okay.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But I mean, like super low budget, he makes it work, and he like competes and does extremely well with it. So like more power to him, because like that's proof right there. Like decent driver, decent car. Well, he's a really good driver,
Right.
decent car, and like you could do well in any series on any track. It shouldn't matter. Bank, flat bottom, like tire rule, no tire rule, weight doesn't matter. If he can
He's
do
done-
it, you
yeah.
can do it. Like
He's done one more times than any other driver there.
I think him and Mike Pollard and him and Taylor Ray, every time they battle was like one or two more times, like minimum.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
But did we confirm they're gonna have drones? Like, what can people expect in regards to the live stream? The same kind of footage, the same kind of camera angles, or are you guys looking to mix it up?
I'm honestly not 100% sure. We're still working the live stream details out for the most part. I mean, there will obviously be drones who will have the same, if not more, camera angles this year. We're actually using Garrett's live stream team, Project Prime, in them to do the live stream out of the Freedom Factory. So we'll have a more elevated live stream this year. The judges will have a monitor in the tower that'll live show them any camera angle they want. They select it in the tower.
Oh,
Like,
that'll be great.
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna
the
be good.
production value is significantly higher. Outside of that, I don't really know a lot about it yet. We've only had Matt's only had one or two phone calls with Garrett's live stream team. So we're still working on the details in the live stream, but it will definitely be more elevated than it was at Emerald Coast Dragway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else that you may want to cover that we haven't already asked you about?
Check the rule book for the guys who are for the drivers who are watching. We let a lot of stuff slide in seasons 1 and 2, mostly because we had a mix of pro cars and street cars and everywhere in between. It's kind of hard to ask a guy who's got a stock 250Z to cut a hole in his hood for a kill switch, stuff like that.
Man.
Going into season 3, there are 0 exceptions. If it's in that rule book, I suggest you show up to tech with it, or you will not pass.
Okay. So, but other than that, like I said, I think the biggest rule change was the roll cages.
Mhm.
Are they?
Your fire suits, right? Too.
I don't require fire suits. The series would have to get to an exponentially higher point before I would require fire suits.
Yeah.
It's just a personal thing. Like
Mhm.
I'm
Well, I
actually
agree.
really experienced with burns and fires.
Mhm.
I've got like a lot of experience with that stuff. So like, I don't,
Okay.
not yet.
Simple enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably get more sunburnt than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Or heat exhaustion. Yeah. Like, yeah,
Friggin-
we've seen that in the past,
way
right?
too much
Drivers
heat,
just
yeah.
really overheating themselves. So
It's not going to get any better down in this, down there.
No.
So
No.
it's going to be a lot hotter.
yeah. You're not gonna have those cool front
No,
days
not at
like
all.
we had. So it's hotter.
Yeah, it's a little more
Other-
airman too. So
I mean, other big changes, there's a good chance we're going to put a chicane for some of the bank layouts that you start on the straightaway.
Mhm.
okay.
We didn't show that in testing. We didn't even try it. We know they'll work. It's a big bank. Like there's a lot of room to do a chicane. There will probably be a layout chicane on bank layouts. The point system has gone through a top to bottom rework. For
Okay.
2 years, I've been fighting with the points to try and get it to where like the last round, the top 8 guys still had a chance to win because I want a really tight finalized finish. And basically Alec at round 4 last year pretty much had it locked in.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it was astronomical odds for somebody to do it any other way. So the point system has been completely reworked top to bottom so that there's like no real way. I don't think that somebody can run away. The points gaps are a lot tighter now. And I think the only other big change is the style category that has 40 points is now sub-split into 2 sections. You'll have 20 points for fluidity and 20 points for commitment.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay. Does that mean there's gonna be a fourth judge?
No, there's not a 4th judge. The problem was with last year at like ECD, like with the line judge only having like Dwayne only had like 30 points where Dan had 40, and there was no regulations on style, so like you could pretty much blow all of the first outer zone but make it look wicked cool and do crazy fast transitions and get a really high style score and get a low line score and it balance out because there was no way to like define like predefined style. So at least with fluidity and commitment, you can only max 20 in each section.
Okay.
You couldn't like be super fluid or be super committed but not super fluid and get 35 points anymore. So you have to have
Okay.
both ends of the spectrum now.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
You
makes
think
sense.
you guys have the line definitely defined, or you think it's going to take a little, a couple rounds before we kind of really define that
Oh,
line?
the Freedom Factory? No, they're
Yeah.
defined.
It's defined.
Like,
Okay.
Yeah, going
Those are
into
different,
going
Okay.
into Friday night practice at 2 p.m. That's what you'll see Saturday morning. Like the convenient thing about the test day was having 2 straight days to do testing, and
Mhm.
then only having 8 layouts basically that we wanted to run. Day 1, we tested those 8 layouts. Day 2, all we did was refine them. We moved
Okay.
clips and zones all day long till the drivers were like happy with the layout. Then we go to the next layout.
Okay.
So I don't think there's going to be many changes. If anything, the big change would be the fact that we're going to use K-rails, hopefully lined with plastic water barriers as well, but the outer zones will be all concrete K-rails and they'll have like a small buffer window. So the only change you might see is us shifting to K-rails just because we didn't use K-rails at the test day to get the depth a little bit more correct because we don't want people to completely total their cars, but
Yeah.
more than likely there won't be any changes.
Yeah. Cabot Cardoso said in the comments, the wall's hard.
The wall is hard.
Is there going to
Concrete
be
does not move. The K-rails aren't
dreaded
going to
touch-
move either. So
the dreaded touch and go? Are you gonna is a touch and go gonna rear its ugly head? The little, it moves so much, and people going in too deep. That was one of the things that seemed like a deciding factor in many battles was that little touch and go wall.
So all zones will be concrete. Touch and go, outer zone,
Okay.
it'll be concrete. We might put plastic barriers in front of them if it's a viable option. We don't know yet. Garrett already has like 200 or something concrete K-rails on site. So, and the equipment to move them.
Mhm.
So if you hit a touch and go that's made of concrete hard enough to move it,
Yeah.
your car's probably totaled anyways.
Right.
So you guys actually going to outline the course with K-rails?
Not the entire course, so just the zones, because one, if I do the whole course in K-rails, somebody is really going to total their car.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But you
But
are going to
two-
put K-rails in this intersection.
Yeah, there will be K-rails on the concrete
good.
if there's a zone, and not for inner clips, but for any outer zone or touch and go in the concrete will be, or in the skid pad will be K-rails.
Well, that's
Okay,
cool.
good deal.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. It helps the judges define exactly how close they are to those zones by just measuring the bumper. even
Yeah,
with
and
just
it
your eyes.
gives the driver, well, one, it puts on a much better show for the spectators because they're not just looking at a giant open skid pad.
Exactly.
But 2, when I was like, we were driving at the Freedom Factory with just the cones. Like, if you go across the skid pad in any way, it's like going into no man's land. I mean, there's like nowhere to like fixate to position the car,
Mhm.
and like looking corner to corner because the edges of the skid pad like drop off onto the asphalt. Basically, you can't see the sweepers.
Mhm.
So like when you come across the concrete and you like switch back into like the inner bank sweepers, you can't see the sweeper.
Right.
Oh.
Right.
So like if there's nothing there to like kind of basically
Yeah,
tell the
that's cool.
driver like where the zone and how the car should come out. Like
Mhm.
you're just
Yeah.
kind of going in blind.
Right. Wow.
The drop off is super sick though. Like going into the sweepers, like it's like jump drift into the sweepers. It's so cool.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, so we got a little jump going on there. So people need to tune their suspension accordingly.
It's
I
not
mean-
that bad, but it just looks cool.
Did you consider at all Chelsea's layout by some chance?
Oh no.
So this is a weird one because I really respect Chelsea and his opinion and what he does for drifting and how good of a driver he is. He's like currently, I mean, arguably one of the top 2 drivers in the world. Like the dude's insanely skilled, and the stuff he does for drifting and how knowledgeable he is like unreal for how long he's been doing this and how old he is. But that whole area is storage
Oh,
at the Freedom Factory, and then 2, like it's just an awkward layout to me. Like I ran it on Assetto, which is obviously not nearly as accurate as being at the Freedom Factory, but like there's so many reasons why I don't actually think that would work. Mostly the run of show.
Mm.
Like 50% of the layout is where nobody can see it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the weird thing with going to the Freedom Factory is like, yes, the layouts are important. Yes, the driver feedback is important. But like the way I look at it, to make any of this work and grow, you need sponsors, point blank.
Right.
Well, sponsors really need to know that they're going to get an ROI with spectator count or live stream or something like that. Well, the Freedom Factory has the ability to bring in so many people. So like the show needs to be the number 1 priority, because drivers, as much as they say they won't, they will go wherever sponsors are so they can get in front of them, and sponsors will go where people are. So like if you
Right.
bring the people, the drivers will come regardless.
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely correct.
So like this year we really want to focus on like the run of show and like trying to make drifting as a whole more entertaining, because like the battles are great.
Mhm.
Right.
Practice and qualifying, even as a driver, as somebody who loves drifting, is the most boring thing to watch. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's one thing that I found interesting. What Chris is going to do with U.S. Well, at least I know he's talking about doing is doing the qualifying like Australian style, how they do it. You basically during your practice session you radio ahead. I don't know if that's going to work for you guys, but it's going to be interesting to see how that works for us over at Sebring and PBIR.
I actually really like that. This is actually something I brought up at the end of season 2 to the team, because I really like basically what I call jam session qualifying.
Right.
Like I really like the concept of jam session qualifying. I'm not sure it works at the level that we're trying to do, because 1, it's such a huge field. Like I might have 80 cars. So with 80 cars and only filling 64 spots, it's not really necessarily fair to be like how do you really judge those 64 that you're going to lock in a jam session? Because I actually ironically really like the way FD is doing their current qualifying.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The knockout style.
We had talked about doing something like that, but like it. 1, I don't just want to copy FD, but 2, traditional qualifying is like, I mean, it's just traditional qualifying. Like it's been in
Right.
drifting for ever now. So I'm sure at some point we'll shake up qualifying. We just don't really know how we want to do it yet. But for this year, it'll just basically be the same as always, just straight traditional.
It can be hard to watch, right?
Yeah.
As a spectator, usually the qualifying day, you know, the diehard guys are going to watch it, right? Because they're either rooting for their guys or just want to see how it's going to
Stack
the
up.
They wanna
lineup's
place
gonna
their
stack.
bets.
They want to place their bets. Yeah, place their bets. They want to see how it's going to stack up. But yeah, for the most part, and especially running an event and for anybody else, it's a necessary evil, I guess you could say, right? But it makes for a great competition, and it's always interesting to see, like, you got Alec Honadale that kind of makes it exciting, where he spins and he zeroes out his first run, right? And he comes back and then he walks away with
like
the number
3
one
1 and
qualifier.
dones this year. I was
Yeah, so that makes things exciting. So those are the exceptions. So we'll see this what this season's going to bring for sure.
But it's going to be top 64, right? Not top 32?
Unfortunately, we are not going to a top 32 field this year. It's something we have talked about repeatedly to do, because like running a 64 field is, it's not a nightmare, but it's just like, it's a lot to deal with. And it ironically adds a lot of time to the event to try and manage. Like if you knock out top 64, like top 64 doubles the length of the event basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like it's harder to get practice time in. It's harder to get drivers like out early on Sunday for the guys that have to drive hours and hours home. Like you guaranteed have to do stuff on Friday do like a paid practice just so drivers have enough time to get acclimated to the layouts, and like
Right.
it adds a whole nother level of difficulty to the show, but we kind of need it still. Like we're not to the point where we have enough like financial backing to cut out the 64. Like essentially we use the driver's registration to pay the payouts for what they like. You know, that was the whole deal with the series. Like we wanted to basically give them back what they gave to us, right?
Right.
Well, we have to have an allotted amount of drivers to do that. So cutting it to a 32 car field, not only do we have to bring on more monetary like sponsorship, which in drifting is extremely, and any motorsport is extremely hard, but we also like have to guarantee that we have 32 locked in cars that will show up every time. For FD that works because they have a Pro 1 field, like and they have 1 or 2 guys on standby. Well, for us, I had 2 guys last year that registered for the whole season, never even showed up for a single round.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So like for us to lock in a 32 car field would be really hard because at our level, there's no guarantee the drivers are going to show up.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So
But speaking of running the top 64, are we gonna still do everything like top 64 all the way to the final in one day? Or are we gonna split it up like Saturday 64 and then 32 on Sunday?
yeah, so Saturday's probably going to be a pretty long day, but we're going to go back to running 64 on Saturday night.
Perfect.
I
like that.
which at
I
the
like
Freedom Factory is much more viable because they have better lighting. Like the track, I don't think is going to substantially change from day to night. And drivers can't argue that they have no time practicing in the dark this year because there's a 6-hour paid practice on Friday that goes from 2 to 8 p.m. So you want dark practice, see you Friday night.
Right.
There's like no reason not to, and then it allows us to kind of have a more vibed out, like chill Sunday and get done in a decent time. Like if there's a delay on Sunday, it's not the end of the world. We're not all crunched for time trying to like rush everything. Like we can do the top 16 ceremony like really well this year, like properly for the live stream and for sponsor stuff, and then hopefully, I'll get done at like 3:30 or 4 o'clock and hang out for a little bit, and then everybody, drive home. Like you don't have to leave the facility at midnight.
So go across the street, get in a bar fight. Sounds like fun.
I totally agree with that because there was one round, I think it was round 2 or 3 where it ended at midnight, and it was
Dude,
that was a long day.
and people don't realize when the event like Friday or Saturday ends on the track, the behind the scenes team is still there for like 2 or 3 more hours.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
It's like we get done at midnight. I'm there till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And then I have to be back there at 5. So like, it also works better for our team because like you get a little bit more time to kind of like decompress and unwind and like a little bit more time in between days. And it just makes everything easier. It sucks, I think, more for the drivers in a way because they're basically going to do one battle and be done. But like, depending on how you look at it, that really
well. So all right. So people that are people are dropping my
Destroyed your
phone. It's
dude.
okay. Yeah.
It's down there.
But so for people that are watching and that are gonna watch the when Ben cuts this new clip, so basically where are people gonna sign up, and where is the best place for them to look for updates?
best place for updates, Instagram or Facebook. We post everything on Instagram or Facebook. If you're a driver and you're not in the 100K series driver page that I created, you should definitely find it or message me, DM me, email me something so I can add you to it. I pretty much post all the driver information in there as we drop it on Klutch Kickers. But 99% of everything we do is on Instagram or Facebook.
And then if they want to email you and message you, what would be the contact?
You can message me at Z Polof on Instagram, Zachary James Polof on Facebook, Matt Midiet on Facebook, .mmidiet on Instagram, or zach@clutchkickers.com.
So, and if they
All my
message you,
information is also in our rule book.
okay, perfect. And then so if they message or if they message you guys through Instagram or Facebook, do you see those messages as well?
I do not see the Instagram ones. If they message us on Facebook, I will see them. They go right to my phone.
Okay, tight work. Well, do you guys have any other questions, or is there anything else you want to add, Zach, before we let you go?
I don't think so.
Well, like always, we appreciate you coming on here, enlightening us with all the changes and information. We are overwhelmed with excitement on what this season's going to bring and what's going to happen. When we found out that it wasn't going to be at Emerald Coast Dragway, I was like, oh my God, you know what's going to happen. But you guys were seamless in the response, and you guys jumped right on it, and you were able to capitalize and and make some changes that it looks like it's going to bring this to a whole nother level that we weren't expecting at the end of the last season. So
Yeah, we're gonna have a good year.
yeah, it's going to be a good year.
It's
It's
gonna
going
be
to be
a fun
exciting.
time. Like,
So you guys have anything else?
Just one. Sorry, just one
Okay,
final
that's
one.
fine.
That just caught.
Hit me.
Camping on the track. Is that going to be possible?
I believe so. I think camping passes are for sale on the folk.com with like general registration tickets. Drivers and crew, it's probably included in their package, but if you wanted to bring like an RV or toter home or something like that, I know that that is an option that you can do at the Freedom Factory.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. Yeah.
Good.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
All right, Zach. Thanks again for your time. Appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you soon. Those couple months, you better get that car done. You have a lot of work ahead of you.
It'll be done.
Yeah, I know it'll be done. I'm not worried at all. But you got a lot of work, and I know you're more than capable. So, like I said,
I got a good team, so it'll be
There
all
you
right.
I know you do for sure. That's absolutely true. So, like I said, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zach.
And we're gonna
Yeah,
ramble
appreciate
on
you guys
from this
having me
point.
on.
Yeah, good deal.
I think we're just gonna cut it because it's just constant connection issues. So
Okay, all right.
All right.
So thank you, folks, for tuning in and bearing with us. We're actually gonna upload a higher quality version since we're recording this, and we'll catch you next time. Hopefully with better connection. Until then, take care and good night.
All right, later, guys.